don't scrape the bottom of your wooden board. We don't want wood in our dough. Okay, there's gonna be a time for that. Really here, you know, if you lift up your fork and silently make egg dough, it's a completely different experience. You get to hear each element of the pasta making, the dough making process. So really hear the egg. You get to experience whisking, the sound of whisking. From the outside, the outside. This is a ×6 egg dough, so it's 2,100 grams of 00 flour and around 1,330 grams of egg with a little splash of water because I'm in a very dry climate. I'm around 22% humidity in the atmosphere right now. So to compensate for the moisture exhaustion from the dough, I added about 1%, or just, you know, equating it to a little splash of water to counteract the moisture exhaustion from the atmosphere. From the outside, outside, we're getting to a point where I'm going to use my fork to push out the walls. Okay. Because we can start incorporating more and more flour at this point. So push your edges out. So what I see a lot of the time is people will think that right now is a good moment to start folding and chopping. But we're going to go about 20 to 30% more than that initial thought of, hey, you know, maybe we can start chopping and folding. Because what will happen is you'll get a very sticky dough and you'll get a lot of the egg dough stuck to your hands. So we want to keep bringing from the outside and incorporating as much of this flour as we can to this center. I'm going to feel the bottom. Pretty good. More from the outside. From the outside again. Keep bringing flour in. So everything in pasta making and in rolling sfolia starts with egg dough. What you want to look for is patterns. And what I mean by patterns is rolling sfolia, making an egg dough, making pasta is very circular in many of your applications when you're making a dough or you're rolling a sfolia. So my well is circular, my egg is very oval, the yolk is circular, the egg when you crack it into a pan is circular in nature or ovalish. My movements are always in circular patterns. Sometimes I do a figure 8, but that's just to bring in flour from a specific point on the edge of the well to the center. So if you look for patterns in pasta making, you'll see, and by following those patterns, you'll see that it's a lot easier to accomplish a goal. In this case, my goal is making an egg dough, but in a circular fashion, I'm bringing in flour in a circular form. And that helps me keep my edges, or this wall, very even. So I'm not pulling, I'm not leaving a large amount of flour over here and a little over here, because I'm thinking circular and in patterns. So constantly be on the lookout for patterns in your pasta making. So we're at a good point. Again, circular in pattern. We're gonna go around the dough. Start folding. fold. Scrape and flip. Very high moisture dough. What I've noticed is that a lot of people, when making their doughs, they're very singular and stiff, or they take one movement and they just repeat that one movement in a fashion that is appropriate, but how I view my dough is I really want to make love to my dough, okay? And some people, it seems, are a little embarrassed to move their body and move their hips and accentuate the arm movements, but it's very, very important, because if I'm going in short movements, right, and I'm not really present and I'm not really thinking about improving my dough. I won't have as much air brought into this dough as I can if I were really long movements, a lot of air. So don't be afraid to dance, okay? Long movements. And pick up the speed. So we've gotten it to where it's starting to become a little smooth. And we're gonna form it kind of like bread now. And then we're gonna wrap it and let it rest for 45 minutes. So we'll wrap this, let it rest 45 minutes. We'll come back and we'll go through the second working of our egg dough. All right. So you're gonna work your dough in a major way, meaning in this big form twice. And then the third time you're gonna shape your dough into your egg dough balls that you're gonna use to roll this folia. So it's rested about 40-45 minutes. And we're gonna continue with long movements. The long rest periods really allow the gluten and the protein structures to form within the dough. So it's really a process where the long rest times help accentuate, the protein structures into formation. So you're allowing the rest time to really form those bonds and those structures between the proteins, the gluten, the egg, the flour, letting starches, coagulate and start to come together. So you're really only working your dough a second time for maybe a minute or two. Okay. And here we can start to see big bubbles of air, and it's very smooth, okay? And the third time it'll become even more smooth with more definition of the air bubbles that you've folded in over the past, 50 minutes, 55 minutes to an hour. Okay, so we'll wrap this again. let it rest, and then we'll form our egg dough balls. Okay, so we've got our dough cut and weighed out to our specific dough ball sizes or weights. And we're gonna, with our hand, kind of create a little dumpling, okay, where it comes to the center. And one of the most important things is closing the back end of this piece of dough so that there's no weak center when you're rolling this folia, okay? And I'm spraying a little water, a little spritz, just to help join the back. A little on the board, a little on top. And you can start by creating something like this, where it's a singular movement, bringing dough over to the back, closing the center. Okay? So you can do singular movements where you get sort of a rosette, but really work on going a little quicker and bringing many, many points to the center, overlapping to cover the back spot. You can tell I'm adding a lot of water just because of the very low humidity in the atmosphere right now. I really want to cover the back end and make sure that you're bringing dough over and closing the back end. And this is the third time we're working the dough, okay? Okay, a little moisture to help the back end close. For the most part, it's closed, okay? I'm gonna work it a little more to ensure that the back is closed, okay? The rounder your dough ball, this is a good example. So the back is closed, okay? But the more round your egg dough ball for rolling sfolia, it directly translates to the roundness of the sfolia when it's rolled out at the end. So if you have a peak here, you're gonna see that on the sfolia at the very end. If you have an indentation here, and a peak, and a peak, and a low spot here, you're gonna see that as it translates to the sfolia at the very end when you're done rolling it. So getting it as round as possible at this point is really key. It's one of the most important things. Okay, we'll center it, and we'll start pleating. Flip, give it another little shaping, little tap. So with this, really focus on accentuating your movements to where the back door, the back end is closed. So you really, as it rests overnight, it becomes one homogeneous piece of dough, and all those structures that we formed throughout the kneading process and the resting process really become one formation and one piece of dough. Okay, so here we are, and I'll continue to do this, and in the next video, I believe I'll be rolling out, I think 4 sfolia, where we'll go from, you know, there's many ways in which you can do it, but defining not really beginner, but a starting point on how to roll sfolia to traditional sfolia rolling, and then how I've really interpreted the process over the past couple of years to incorporating more challenging movements. And by the last sfolia, we'll see the development of how you can add your own twist to your form and how your technique translates to rolling sfolia. But again, it's really important getting this down. This is where it all starts. This is the heart and soul of a sfolino or a sfolina, the shape of their dough and how much pressure they put on each movement when forming the dough ball, and how much time they take to focus on each movement, and how much time they really take to get this down professionally and to a T, and how that translates into the whole process, especially into rolling sfolia. So this is the beginning. This is where everything starts. You get good at this, and then it directly translates to rolling sfolia. So very important. Okay, the next video will be rolling sfolia.